chums, when we were younger, there was a difference, wasn't there, when you went to go for a job? You know, the sort of thing I mean. In today's world, I feel a little bit sorry for the younger generation in many respects. Yes, no, I do, because you see now, I mean, I don't know if it was like that in your day, but do you remember writing off for your first position? And they actually taught you how to do that in school, and I've never forgotten it. You know, your address, their address, and then of course how you signed it off. It was one of those things that stuck with you because you were told if you didn't get this right, you wouldn't get another chance of an opening in that particular company, and possibly the start of your career. Things do change, you see, oh yes. But if you wanted to work for the royal family, well, there were one or two secrets that you had to learn and, more importantly, know about before you even entered royal service. Let me explain. Morning, lovely to see you, chums. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah, I'm by some beautiful flowers actually, but it's just, can you see the sky there? It's just literally taking a turn for a thunderstorm. I know, frightening, isn't it? As I said the other day, it's not just me opening my wallet. There are other things attached to this, like weather, of course. But it's true, isn't it? You know, when we first went for our jobs, if you remember, I could have plastered my wall with all those rejection letters, because if you think about it, you got a letter back, at least, didn't you? You know, thank you for turning up for the interview. And who remembers actually them offering you your fare to turn up for an interview? Do you remember that? You'd never get that now, would you? But of course, if you wanted to be part of the British monarchy and work in service for them, well, we were all inspired, as I was, by things like Upstairs, Downstairs. Today's world, of course, Downton Abbey. But what interested me, and this was fascinating, because when I first came to London, I joined an agency because as a resting thespian, as it were, you needed to keep working while you weren't performing on the boards or in cabaret or in musicals and stuff like that. And in those days, they really liked people from the theatrical background, seemingly because we weren't frightened to speak up at public events or indeed open doors with a flourish, the type of thing, you know. Now, what was fascinating was we all knew about royal staff, all thanks to scandalous books like Crawford, you know, the governess who we mentioned recently on the show. And when you read that book now, as many of you pointed out, it's such a tame affair, really. I mean, you know, but it was just totally different. Now, I was lucky enough to meet a lady and a gentleman who worked in royal service really at the very glamorization, I would say, of that particular period. And for many years, in fact, for the late Queen Mother. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation about the Queen Mother. Was she an easy boss, wasn't she? All of that sort of stuff. And only a couple of days ago, we had a story breaking about His Majesty the King getting rid of a number of gardeners because they didn't work to his exacting sort of standards. Well, they're royals, you know, and they're paying. And as a lot of people said, well, how much are they paying? Well, it's a charitable trust. So it's nothing directly to do with the senior royals. It's put out by the trust. But here's where this gets interesting, you see, because as we know, nowadays, there are so many people writing books about their time in service. And certain individuals, like Major Johnny, become big stars, don't they? Literally just by being seen next to the senior royals, alongside, say, recently at Wimbledon with Catherine, the Princess of Wales' new personal assistant. That caused a flutter. But way back, one lady, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, well, she was very sort of different, shall we say. According to this source, she didn't really adhere too much to the traditional interview technique. Oh no, you see, according to them, you know, when you first went in, there was this rigorous sort of walking through doors, you will be seated here. Obviously, you didn't meet the Queen Mother, you met certain individuals. And as many have pointed out, one of their first ports of calls was none other than Backstairs Billy. But you see, it was worse than just Backstairs Billy, because if you were not, say, well vested about certain things in royal life, then there were problems. You see, the Queen Mother liked to hire staff from the north of England. And there was a reason for this, because the Queen Mother really liked people who she said were warm, friendly and had smiley faces. And she believed that staff coming from the north of England, well, they were new to London, it was a new experience, and they were more fascinated by that particular life. But there was another thing. Oh yes. You see, she didn't necessarily care if you could, you know, perhaps lay a table to an exacting standard, or indeed, you know, you knew how to pull the curtains back at what point, how you polished this or do that. You know, the sort of things that Rose might have done, of course, in Upstairs, Downstairs. No, there were two things. She wanted to see a smiley, welcoming, warm face on both male and female staff members. And the other thing was that you had to learn how to make her favourite drinks. And this just wasn't, of course, the the alcoholic beverages, but she had certain things that she liked, like hot chocolate, warm milky coffee, but not too warm, and those sugars. And once she had mastered that, she was more than happy. According to these ex-staff members, who I have to keep nameless, they said she was a lovely, lovely lady, didn't bother too much at all with royal protocol, but she just liked her little comforts and her creature comforts, literally for herself. Once you'd got those, everything else was left to somebody else. But she would sometimes chip in if somebody was being told off and said, it's not the end of the world, do leave them alone, they're doing a terrific job. And that would mean that that person then could be secured, because the Queen Mother would look and say, where did they go? If, of course, they'd left. And she wanted to know why they left. So as you can see, working in royal life had its ups and downs, but more importantly, it's always nice to get a glimpse inside behind those regal royal curtains to find out exactly, were all bosses difficult? Well, apparently not the Queen Mother. Like everybody, she had her moments, but she was warm, welcoming and kind, and gave a lot of opportunity to a lot of people. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.